Humboldt County will use roughly 25% more electricity if a Norwegian company builds a land-based fish farm on the Samoa Peninsula. But that electricity spike could advance the county's renewable energy goals. California generates more than a third of its grid electricity by burning natural gas.
People should care about putting carbon into the atmosphere because that creates the greenhouse effect, where we are trapping heat into the atmosphere and it's raising our temperature. Here on Humboldt Bay, we need to worry about that primarily because of sea level rise. As the atmosphere warms, glaciers melt, and the sea level rises.
To slow coastal flooding and climate change's other harmful effects, beginning in 2045, the state will prohibit utility companies from burning natural gas. They'll have to use renewable sources to generate electricity. But 93% of Humboldt County customers are accelerating that timeline by bypassing PG&E and buying electricity through our community choice aggregator.
So there was a law passed in the early 2000s that allowed this community choice aggregation. And it means basically that local governments can purchase electricity or perhaps even own generation assets themselves to produce the electricity. By 2025, we're aiming to have all of our electricity come from a combination of renewable and carbon-free sources. Solar, wind, biomass, geothermal, large and small hydropower could all be parts of our portfolio of electricity by 2025. By 2030, we have a second goal, which is to have all of the electricity come from local renewable sources in or near Humboldt County.
Around that same time, Nordic Aqua Farms plans to begin harvesting roughly 150,000 pounds a day of Atlantic salmon. First, the company will demolish this smokestack and most other remnants of Louisiana Pacific's pulp mill visible from here on Woodley Island. The fish farmed on the rebuilt site will never experience the sea or bay. Instead, Nordic will hatch purchased eggs on land in an indoor hatchery. The juveniles will then swim through underground pipes to these grow-out modules, where they'll grow in tanks to market size. To remove waste and viruses, Nordic's power-hungry recirculating aquaculture system will flush, filter, and recycle tank water every 2 hours. The farm will use as much electricity as roughly Eureka and Fortuna combined.
In some conversations with folks from Nordic, they intimated that they're going to actually be following these renewable energy goals. And those of us who have, followed projects like this here in the States know that companies can say one thing and then do another.
Environmental groups pressured Nordic to buy power from Redwood Coast Energy Authority. Compared to PG&E, RCEA transacts less electricity from natural gas. On June 30th, activists declared victory when Nordic legally committed to
purchase renewable and/or non-carbon energy through RCEA, relying on its available portfolio, or purchase 100% non-carbon renewable portfolio from one of the other energy service providers in California. And as technically and commercially feasible, that Nordic would enter into a purchase power agreement with the proposed offshore wind project and/or other non-carbon renewable energy sources located in Humboldt County.
That wind project could be built by RCEA. Later this year, Humboldt's intergovernmental electricity provider and its private partners plan to bid on the federal right to install roughly 12 turbines 25 miles off Eureka's coast. The floating windmills would tower over the sea at roughly the height of San Francisco's Transamerica building. Nordic Aqua Farms would buy electricity generated by the non-carbon emitting turbines.
So it can make the wind energy project more feasible because there's a massive committed consumer for that energy source. This project has the potential to really make our renewable local energy goals here feasible because they do have that purchasing power.
When we set the 2030 goal, the expectation at that time was that we'd have offshore wind available to include in our portfolio by then. I don't know if that's a safe bet still, that that's going to happen. A couple of years ago, there was a proposal for onshore wind energy project, the TerraGen project, that would have been built on ridges just outside of Scotia and Rio Dell. There was considerable community opposition to that project, and they didn't get the permit that they needed from the county to develop the project.
With uncertainty about wind energy looming on the horizon, on July 28th, the Humboldt County Planning Commission will evaluate Nordic's proposed electricity sources and other aspects of the fish farm plan. The commission's granting or denial of a development permit can be appealed to the Board of Supervisors. If permits are approved for the site here near Redwood Marine Terminal 2, demolition could begin in the next year, construction by 2025. The first fish could hit market before the end of the decade. Eric Black, Arcata News, Samoa.